Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm John Sable, and later we'll be joined by our very own Billy Strange.
Oh, shit!
Special. And welcome to our review of F1 2017 out on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on August 25th. In this review, we're going to look at the pros, cons, and neutral attributes of F1 2017 and see if it is the best Formula 1 game to come out of Codemasters. Racing simulator provided by Next Level Racing and their new 2-in-1 F1 GT cockpit. Whether you like the upright GT seating position or low-slung F1 seating position, the F1 GT has you covered at a price that won't break the bank. Learn more at nextlevelracing.com. Our first pro of F1 2017 is its menus, settings, options, and navigation. The menus in F1 2017 are an evolution of 2015 and 2016 and is the best execution yet. The menu music in F1 2017 isn't infuriating and actually makes you want to leave it on. And best of all, not only can you adjust the many settings and options of F1 2017 in the main menu, but you can on the actual race weekend, so you don't have to go and leave your race to go and adjust those settings. Also, props should be given to Codemasters for having settings that most traditionally console-centric games don't have, such as the ability to change the camera view in the cockpit and be able to move it forward, back, up, down, and adjust the field of view. Now if Codemasters would just make it so you don't have to have your hands on the steering wheel and lock the steering wheel while you're driving, that'd be nice for those of us who lean more towards sim racing and do that in other sim racing titles. The next pro of F1 2017 are the tracks. We really love the intro to each track and really makes it special when you're going into the race weekend.
And I hope you're as excited as we are for today's practice session here at the Shanghai International Circuit. This 5.45 kilometer track provides both low-speed cornering and a long high-speed straight, a combination that will challenge even the most experienced driver.
Another great aspect of the tracks at F1 2017 is the environment. It really makes it feel like you're there on race weekend, and it's very much alive, unlike a lot of other sim racing titles out there. It's great to see the fans move, active pit road, and not too much F1 2017 branding, although it would be nice to see it all disappear. Hearing the local PA announcers before the start of the race is also great. I heard the Australian PA announcer even shouting out Billy Munger, which was a great little detail that the team added. And in terms of driving the tracks, Codemasters have done a great job. For being non-laser scan, these are really great representations of all the tracks. For F1 2017, Suzuka was updated and feels really great. In fact, all the tracks really feel great, with the only track that felt a little odd was the very last chicane at Spa. But besides that, the tracks in F1 2017 really do feel on point. And lastly, the development of the racing line at the tracks in F1 2017, again, is also really great. It's really nice to see the racing line develop, and is especially awe-inspiring when you see it happening during a wet weather race. And speaking of weather, that is our next pro of F1 2017. The weather looks great, and best of all, it's dynamic. It's so cool racing on a drying track and being able to pick up the pace as the track dries out. Also, driving on a wet track, or even a wet track that's drying, feels really believable. Real Formula drivers talk about just how much water that the wet tires move and how you can actually drive a lot quicker in the wet than you think you can, and that's really shown off in F1 2017. But you still know you're racing in the rain when you get on the brakes or have a really tight radius corner. It's just cool going, oh, I think I can go harder here, and then also getting to other parts of the track and going, oh no, I went way too hard there. The next pro of F1 2017 is the AI. While the AI isn't perfect, it is pretty darn good. For 2017, Codemasters added a slider for AI difficulty and really creates a lot more options for the game player. The biggest negative to the AI in F1 2017 is the pack can be pretty train-like at the beginning of the race. But after that, the cars spread out in a believable way based on each car's performance. But best of all, they race you really hard. There are times when they can run you pretty close and even run you off the road, but hey, that's kind of realistic too. But the AI does make it pretty difficult for you to pass, and you really have to work on it. And then once you're by the car, you just can't lollygag around because they will come back and challenge you for the position. Plus, we didn't experience too much awkward slowing down if you really slow down on track. They do tend to do a pretty good job of reacting and just going around you. One of my favorite things about the AI in F1 2017 is seeing how they react in qualifying. In qualifying, when an AI car goes out onto the track, they do their best to slow down and stay out of your way until they go and turn a fast lap themselves. This is a pretty cool thing to witness and is really realistic to the world of F1 and is awesome to see. While the AI isn't perfect, it's pretty damn good in F1 2017. And considering this is a title that most people will play offline, yes, I know there are some of you out there who will play online, I see you, but again, the majority will play this offline. Having good AI is really critical to the success of this game, and the Codemasters has done a really good job with it in F1 2017. The next pro is the damage model. F1 2017 does a really good job with the big hits, with awesome cutscenes when you go and run into the wall and have a tire come off with the tethers. Really love that. But it's the small contact that really impresses us with F1 2017. The game does a good job of giving you wing damage when you run into the back of someone, even if it wasn't that hard. Also, it does a good job if you run in the back of someone, but you hit them pretty squarely and you actually hit them with your nose cone versus your wing. It won't give you damage in that case, which also is very neat to see. And when you get damage, even minor damage to the wing, you can feel the difference. Even if that loss of downforce is pretty minor, it does have an impact and you do feel it. It's also cool to see the debris on the racetrack after a crash, and it's cool to see that it stays there for the entire race. Also, while this isn't new to F1 2017, we really do love the animation of the pit crew replacing the nose when you do have damage. This is just another example of the game going that extra mile to really give you the authentic feel of racing in Formula 1. Now, would we like to see a slider for damage that could be turned up a bit more, so maybe if you side slap the wall, you get suspension damage? Yes, we would like to see that implemented, maybe as an update or maybe in F1 2018. But as a whole, F1 2017 does a really good job with the damage, especially considering what kind of title it is that has to appeal to the masses. Our next pro of F1 2017 is the garage. It strikes a good balance between allowing you to set up an F1 car, but not going way too deep into the woods and into the sim racing world. You can really feel adjustments out on track, although it seems like the game doesn't allow you to really cock up the setup like sims allow you to and really get into the woods. But again, for a title that F1 2017 is and what it has to appeal to, this is probably for the best, and having a simpler garage is a good thing. Our next pro is wheel and pedal support. F1 2017 offers a strong list of supported wheels, which isn't a guarantee for all games, especially those that lean more towards the consoles. Also, you can run multiple input devices on the PC, aka running different wheel and pedal manufacturers and plugging both USBs into your PC. While this feature isn't new to F1 2017, it is, again, nice to see because it's something that a lot of console-focused titles do not offer on the PC. Our next pro is force feedback. Like AI, force feedback isn't perfect, but for a title like F1, it's pretty good. First off, the force feedback has plenty of strength. The wheel loads up nicely on turn-in, which makes you feel like you're controlling a physical object. For 2017, Codemasters offers more force feedback effects. Even though there's a chance that you might turn some of these effects off or turn them down, it is nice to see Codemasters offering them. It's also nice to see them not get carried away and give you way too many options to choose from. While the force feedback in F1 2017 has been improved, there are some details that are lost in the force feedback compared to other sims out there, such as the undulations and bumps on the track. The tracks don't feel quite as alive through the wheel as they do in some other sim racing titles. But again, there's enough there that it left me really happy with the feel of the game when paired with my AccuForce V2 steering wheel. Our last pro for F1 2017 is the career mode. Simply put, the career mode is fantastic. It properly captures the many elements of F1 and gives you that F1 experience. Fulfilling the team's expectations, beating your teammates, developing the car, taking care of the car.
We're accumulating some wear on the MG UK. We need to stay out of rich fuel mode to manage it.
And balancing current performance versus future performance are just some of the many aspects of the career mode in F1 2017. The R&D car development in the career mode in F1 2017 is awesome. It even makes practices challenging because to earn credits to upgrade your car, you need to hit practice goals, but sometimes you just want to go out there and practice and develop on your setup. But with that said, the nice thing about the practice programs is it does give you lap times to shoot for. Also, afterwards, it shows you where you are slow, which did indeed help me get faster in practice. If you allow it, the career mode in F1 2017 really gives you that authentic feel of practice, qualifying, and race. Elements like the team being around you in the garage, you driving yourself off a pit road and having to actually turn off the pit speed limiter, differing weather conditions over the weekend, not just rain and the possibility of that rain getting heavier and getting lighter, but even just the time of day difference between the practice sessions, qualifying, and the race. All of this leads to a much more realistic and rewarding career mode in F1 2017. But there's more. F1 2017 also offers classic Formula One content. Not only is the cars list great, but the classic events are a really nice mix into the career mode and are quite challenging if you have the difficulty turned up. So with all that said, if you're going to pick up F1 2017 and maybe just run individual races or race online, you really must do yourself a favor and run the career mode to at least check it out, because it can be really rewarding and is really great if you are a fan of F1. Now let's look at the neutral attributes of F1 2017, and first up is sound. The engine notes in F1 2017 may be accurate, but there's no depth to them, which especially hurts the 2017 engines.
Okay, we're through the start phase. Now let's build on it.
Classic cars, such as the F2004, sound cool with their screaming engines.
That's a decent start. Good job.
But the 2017 engine's bass sound isn't great, and it's the turbo whirl and transmission sounds and the pops and the cracks and the creaks that make the engine sound cool, and all that's missing in the game and really takes away from that experience of F1, especially in 2017. Also, the game's default audio mixing doesn't help things out. Your engine is too quiet compared to opponents, rain is much louder than the engine right in front of your car, the wind noise between when you're running behind someone and when you're not is really extreme and doesn't quite feel right. But thankfully, most of these things can be adjusted in-game via sliders. For all these reasons, this is why we put sounds in the neutral category. It's not terrible, but you don't listen to it and think this is the best thing ever. It's pretty middling. There was part of us that wanted to put graphics into the pros category. There's a more extensive benchmark mode in F1 2017. F1 2017 has the best color palette that Codemasters F1 has ever had and looks really good. Surface finishes such as chrome and matte paint look really nice. Details like the carbon fiber pattern print-off on the car's liveries are there. The people in the cutscenes look great. Also, as mentioned before, the tracks look really good and rain looks fantastic. Lastly, details like particles floating and dirt and grass and smudges on your visor and even pickup on the tires all look great. But there are cons. No matter how high the graphics are set, the shiny aliasing edges of the cars is annoying. The game would look so much better if they didn't have this. Also, we're getting really tired of the heat wave from the exhaust. It's just a ball of distortion that doesn't always even line up with the car correctly. This is an option that really should be able to be disabled. Another odd issue is having to continuously play with the gamma brightness level. On a sunny day, 0 makes everything look too bright in our opinion. But if you turn it down a few clicks, you're in trouble when you race in the late afternoon. You literally can't see a damn thing. This is kind of annoying and an issue that we haven't experienced in any other titles that have multiple times of day or even day to night transitions. And lastly, the game is a resource hog. When we race on the PC, we want to race at 90 plus frames per second. At 90 plus frames per second, games look extremely smooth. This is why VR is locked at 90 frames per second. But below 90 frames per second on a 144 Hz monitor, things start to get not quite as smooth. With my GTX 1070 graphics card and Ryzen 7 CPU, I can only turn the graphics settings to high on a single monitor and get these acceptable frames per second. In comparison, I can run true triple screen support with the same settings in iRacing and Assetto Corsa, and those games look better. Our next neutral attribute of F1 2017 are the physics. The physics in F1 2017 are better than F1 2016, but there's still room for improvement. Unlike 2016, the wheels this time around have some semblance of being rubber when coming out of the corner. 2017 cars are still not easy to put power down, but you don't have to be so timid in applying throttle like you had to be in F1 2016. This does mean that the cars are drivable once you learn what they don't like. What are the things that they don't like? Well, number one is extra steering angle in the corner. The cars in F1 2017 are extremely line sensitive, and if you go into the corner and end up having to put a little more wheel into the car, you better be ready to start counter steering against that slide because the back end is definitely going to kick out. Why is this? It's because the tires still feel very hard with not really any flex happening, which punishes you when you make a mistake with your lines. So while F1 2017 is a step in the right direction and the cars are more drivable, we are looking for more improvement in physics in F1 2018, and hopefully we'll get a little more feeling of that tire flex and feeling like you're driving on tires with air versus driving on plastic tires that are just coated in rubber. Another con in the physics of F1 2017 is there's still no ability to adjust the MGU settings of the cars. While this would be just another thing you would have to manage in F1 2017, especially in career mode, it would be nice to see implemented, even if it was only implemented in more of a hardcore mode. The last neutral attribute of F1 2017 are the rules. It's cool to see F1 2017 implementing all the different F1 rules, but sometimes they aren't as accurate as you would like them to be. Track limits are a perfect example of this. If you take Melbourne for example, you can cut the chicane there like crazy. But if you go through turn 1 at Spa, you better not get the left side tires up on the rumble strip on the outside of the track, or you'll go over the track limits, or you better not go too far to the inside and get your right tires close to the wall, and again you will go past the track limits and your lap will not count. So in Melbourne you have the game being too loose with the track cutting rules, but in Spa you have it being too harsh. Local cautions are also a bit difficult in the game. There were times when a crash would break out right in front of me going through turn 1, and I'd do my best just to avoid it and keep going, and the game would make me slow down and let another car that I supposedly passed under caution go by me. It'd be nice to see the triggering of local cautions be delayed slightly after a crash so you don't get penalized for just doing your best not to run into anyone. Now let's get to the cons of F1 2017. The first con is the lack of mouse, virtual mirror, VR, and triple screen support for F1 2017. Having no mouse support to navigate on the PC is unacceptable. Really, how hard could it be to implement, and how many years are we going to go without having mouse support on the PC? It really is ridiculous. Another thing missing in F1 2017 is the virtual mirror. While it's a setting that not everyone uses, it would be really nice to use, especially when only running on a single monitor. While virtual reality hasn't caught on great in general gaming, its most popular segment does seem to be racing, and this is something that every racing developer must deal with. While VR users may still be a very small segment in the grand scheme of things, it should be supported if it's a racing title in 2017. Now take everything I just said about VR and apply that to triple screen support. Again, it should be in the game in 2017. Now with that said, I do have to ask the question, maybe F1 2017 can't even run in VR or triple screen support considering how intensive the graphics are, which if that is the case, maybe it's a good time for Codemasters to go ahead and look at a new graphics engine that isn't so difficult on the hardware so we can go and get these things that, again, should be supported. But hey, you have Tobii eye tracking on the PC, so you get that, whatever that is. Our last con of F1 2017 is the input delay. We have no idea why, but Codemasters games continue to have a visual input delay, and that's at the very least. Is this just a visual thing, or is it an actual delay? Considering I'm running F1 on quality monitors that show zero delay on other sim titles, I have to imagine that there's an actual delay between the inputs I'm doing based on what I'm seeing on screen and when those inputs actually enter the game. And that's a really bad thing. So with all that, let's go ahead and get to our final thoughts. And before I share my final thoughts, I want to throw it over to Billy so he can give his final thoughts. We worked on putting together this pros, cons, and neutral list together. So without further ado, here's Billy.
So let's get the biggest question out of the way first. Is F1 2017 for you? And that just depends on if you've tried F1 2016. If you like F1 2016, good news, and in my opinion, F1 2017 is a must-buy. It takes the original formula from F1 2016 and just expands upon that for F1 2017 and just makes for a better overall experience, again, in my opinion. And I'll get into the details of that in just a few moments. If you only own a console and you enjoy driving or racing games, I also think F1 2017 is worth checking out. And I'm going to kind of say it's the gamification of F1 2017 that I really enjoy, whether it be the career mode or perhaps some of the other challenges that are in there along with the classic cars. I just think there's a lot there to enjoy. Where this is going to get tricky is if you're a PC-only sim racer, and a hardcore sim racer at that. If you're looking at F1 2017 and going, I'm a huge Formula 1 fan, but I don't know, and F1 2016 didn't really do it for me, all I can tell you is that F1 2017 improves the physics model and the tire model more. I know they are different cars than F1 2016, but there is something there that I enjoy better as far as the way the car handles around the track. But if you like iRacing, Automobilista, Race Room, R-Factor 2, something with nice open wheel physics and a tire model that really works well, F1 2017 may turn you off. I don't know that it's for you, and the reasons I'm saying that is, again, I like F1 2017 a lot, but there is a crispness and a fidelity to those other PC sims that I just mentioned that F1 2017 doesn't have. So when I started off with F1 2017, I really didn't like it. I felt like, and I used descriptors like it was, the car was very ambiguous and kind of squishy feeling when I was talking to John about it. The more I drove it, the more I understood where the limit of traction was for the car. And then all of a sudden there was something that happened to me where it clicked and I was like, okay, this is how the car wants me to drive it. You know, I don't race F1, so I don't know how realistic this is, but it makes sense to me once I kind of wrap my head around it and I'm going to say it again, it just doesn't have that crispness. I know that's a weird word to use, but that's the only thing I can really think of that those other PC titles have that, again, F1 2017 doesn't have. But overall, I think you can control the car. It's difficult enough not to be easy, but for the audience that I think this is aimed for, I think it's just going to work well for most people that aren't super hardcore about PC sim racing. Again, probably one of the best careers as of late in any sim or driving game, period, is F1 2017. It just expands on it just a little more. The progression is deeper in trying to make your car better with the better parts and how they can brake, and you can push them too hard, and you've got units you can switch to, and you know, having to keep up to your contractual obligations and trying to stay ahead of your rival. All of this, you know, over the course of 10 seasons will make something that is really unique and personal to you, and that is not something that many can claim. And the fact that the only thing that I actually roll back real quick, I would like to see everybody start in a lower car and kind of work their way up. Championships and stuff like that can be for picking your favorite car and stuff, but I really like the idea of starting with a lower car and then maybe mid-season or at the end of the season getting a better offer if you're doing better, or staying with that team and building it up to be a top caliber F1 team is something that intrigues me. So I don't know, it's just a little nitpick on my part. I'd like to see you start at a lower level. Overall though, hands down in my opinion, best career mode in a long time of any PC or console racing title. In closing, just get to the details that make F1 2017, in my opinion, a really fun, enjoyable, and great game to play as somebody who is an F1 fan. You have things like John mentioned, like little shout outs in the backgrounds from announcers, trackside details, the way the menus work, the presentation, the overall presentation of F1 2017 is just nice and pleasing to the eye. So that's it for me. Again, I think for most people, they're really going to enjoy F1 2017. Again, if you're that hardcore sim racer, you may want to wait for a sale, or maybe you can try it at a friend's house or something like that. But yeah, good job, Codemasters. Really enjoy F1 2017. Thank you so much for allowing us to check it out early with a review code.
So for my final thoughts on F1 2017, I think F1 2017 is a nice step up over F1 2016. And I think if you are a fan of Formula One, then this is definitely a title that you want to pick up. The game as a whole does a fantastic job of giving you that Formula One experience. I mean, I was really impressed with the career mode and all the things that went into it, and it made the career races that I ran really challenging because I had to spend a lot of time really paying attention to not tearing up my car in a race, obviously, but I had to manage my engine. I had a bunch of times when my engine was down on power and the team was telling me to not rev out the engine as much. Then I had to go and upgrade my engine really early in the season, and you only get 4 engines in a season. So a lot of difficult choices that you have to make in a career mode, and a lot of things that you don't normally consider while driving. But if you're a fan of F1 and you watch the races, you hear all the time the teams coming on the radio and saying, you know, you can't use this system right now, or you don't have this, or this is going wrong with the car, and you have to manage it. And that's what F1 2017 does. It makes you manage the car and manage the weekend and manage the overall development of the car just like it does in real life, and that's fantastic. It's also nice to see the added flair of the old cars in F1 2017. They're fun to drive, they're fun to listen to, the ones with the big engines. Even if the sounds in F1 2017 aren't amazing, at least the base engine sound is there, and things like that F2004 screaming down the straightaway is fun. And I like the little events that are worked into the career mode. So overall, I'm very impressed with F1 2017 for what it is. Is it a top sim racing title? No, it isn't, but that doesn't mean you still can't have fun with it. And even with that said, I don't think it's fair to compare F1 2017 to simcades like Forza Motorsports, for example. F1 2017 drives way better and way more realistic than most of the cars in Forza Motorsport 6 do. So I don't think it's fair judging F1 2017 as just a simcade. It might not be full sim, but it's hitting somewhere in the middle, and that equals to a lot of fun for something that you can pick up and play, but still make it a pretty difficult experience with all the different settings it has. So that leaves us recommending F1 2017, whether you're a fan of F1 or not. So thank you for watching our review of F1 2017. We hope you enjoyed it. If you do, please give it a like. If you haven't followed Inside Sim Racing, please subscribe to the channel. We will have more F1 2017 content coming, and even some F1 racing, sim racing content that isn't directly F1 2017. I think if you're a fan of F1 2017 or Formula Sim Racing in general, I think you will enjoy it. Also, make sure to check out our website, isrtv.com, where we have the latest news, reviews, and our popular forums. A lot of great sections over in the forums, including the buy, sell section if you're looking to buy or sell sim racing hardware. Also, make sure you can go to the website and check out this review there and leave comments there if you would like. Also, check out our Amazon affiliate links in the description below. Click on the link, shop through Amazon. It doesn't cost you a thing, but kicks back a little bit towards us and helps support us to make these pretty intensive videos like this review. So, I'm John Sable, and for Billy Strange, thank you for watching Inside Sim Racing. Please take care of you and yours.